speaker is standing right next to me. Is Anatoly Ropotov, CEO of Game Insight, one of the world's leading mobile game companies. And Game Insight is actually located in Baltics, right?
It is.
Right. Yeah, it is. And it's the developer of Guns of Boom, this game right here that we have the stand for. And Anatoly is a games veteran, but I think he will say more about himself in his presentation. So, Anatoly, I give the mic to you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I just want to say some kind words to all the gamedev.lv and the association organizers. I think it's just so tremendous to see after probably like 12 or 13 years of all the meetings, of all the events in Latvia, to see this full room here. Thanks for staying so late. Thanks for coming here. And this is going to be a very unusual talk for me because, you know, like I'm trying not to talk about Game Insight or actually making free-to-play games or doing things. I'm going to talk more about the local story, how we started in Riga, Latvia, how we did some projects here with a few companies before, and how we grew from doing small things to making big things and actually building a company with over 500 people. And I think there are a lot of relevant stories. I'm going to talk about the small projects, about transitioning from PC to mobile, transcending platform generation, and it's all about catching the next big wave. It's all about finding it, trying to be first there, and then doubling down on that. So I know that a lot of the stories today have revolved about, like Jake's story about doing things consistently for 12 years and finally getting on track and doing great things. So maybe you will find something for you, something inspiring. I'm going to try to keep it kind of short. Everyone wants to go to a party, but at the same time maybe inspiring. So maybe I'm going to talk about some stories, and you couldn't find this on YouTube, so this is not my typical talk about Guns of Boom, esports, or whatever we're doing. So, few things that you could relate to. Does anyone here know Delphi? Maybe? Okay, I think this is the first time so many people actually raised hands today here. So this is a funny story how I started. I used to run games at Delphi.lv back in 2001 and 2, and I used to run Counter-Strike, Battle.net, not Quake, but Counter-Strike and Battle.net servers back in the days. So this was a while ago, and I was doing community management. I used to work at a game computer shop and game PC club, doing local events here in Riga, Latvia. And this was my second job because I was working at Riga Spiena Kombinats at the same time, which is not something that you would expect to hear from a guy that makes games for a living. But I think I had it so much back in the days that I was like, yeah, I want to do some real games, I want to do some cool things. And back then in 2001, there was a company called Cybersoft. Is it on? Okay. Which was making games in Latvia. This was the first game developer here, and they used to do games for actual Game Boy Advance, and they have been a subsidiary of Capcom. Who could have imagined that back in 2001 in Riga there was a studio of Capcom actually doing games based on Mega Man franchise, Ghosts and Ghosts, and even collaboration with Nintendo. But this was kind of short-lived for a few years. I used to work there, and this was my first game experience back in the days. Before I moved on to a different company, which used to do social, not like really social, but like casino games, sports books, betting things, and I was a Flash developer back then, doing Flash games and things like that. And just one day, we got approached by a client who told, like, hey, could you do stuff like porting to Xbox? And this was the first ever digital distribution platform for consoles. It was called Xbox Live Arcade. You might still know it, back from the days. But when I heard about it, and they used to run a game site, I was like, this thing couldn't really exist. Like, why would Microsoft do digital downloads on Xbox? It's 2003. It couldn't be. It's not true. Those guys kept calling, and eventually we got a contract to port some games to Xbox, which was pretty exciting. So I kind of moved from Capcom console Game Boy Advance development to Flash development, and then got back into console development. And this was right here in Riga, Latvia, and we produced 20 titles. 20 titles for companies like PopCap Games, Eidos, Paramount Pictures. I think we did something for Sony Pictures Entertainment, like one of the versions of Wheel of Fortune that wasn't really released, and Jeopardy and games like that, which was pretty exciting back then. And back then it was a team maybe of 20 people doing C++ development, shipping those titles. It was really exciting times. And I think that one of the lessons here is kind of, if you want to pursue the dream of making games, it's not always about just saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it myself, sitting in a closet for 2 years. That's a really good thing to aspire to. Maybe you could just try to get some real life experience, build projects with some companies, master some skills, and try to see how you do it, how bigger companies do that. And with all of that experience, you could go and do your own next big thing on your own. So that's how the platform looked back in the days. That's Xbox Live Arcade. You would come in and you would just download things, which was pretty revolutionary back then. A developer would submit a game and then start selling it for $9.99. And they had like weekly releases, maybe once a week. There was a new game, and everyone would download that, would buy that. It was a great platform, but eventually, by 2007, by Xbox 360, it got really crowded. They started releasing 2 to 3 games a week. The sales, the first sales week back then were maybe like 100K copies on a first week. 100K copies worth $10. This was just a gold mine. Like any new platform that gets released, it's a huge, big new wave of opportunity. You could release your game if it's a new platform, and you could get all the sales because there are just so few content, maybe just few games. And if the release cycle is like a game a week, that's just great and tremendous. So by 2007, Xbox Live Arcade was not really a good platform because they started releasing 2 to 3 games a week, and the sales fell to maybe 10 to 20K unless it's a AAA title, unless it's super expensive in production. And back then the development cycles have been maybe first 12 months, then 18 months, then 24 months. As the games get more and more complex, and with 360 you have to produce HD content, you have to produce super high geometry, cool animation. So it got more and more expensive to develop the content for the platform, and then you would get less and less sales. So this was kind of the sucky part about Xbox. And I think back in that day, I kind of left the company because it was too hard to make those games for Xbox, and I wanted to do something else. So before I founded Innovate, which is our company in Latvia here, a part of Game Insight, actually I thought that I don't have one critical skill. So that's a skill that I think few people nowadays have. It's called actually doing live ops and operations of games. I used to do Xbox games, but there have been so many browser-based games, MMO games. That's a type of games that I have never touched. So before founding the company that became Game Insight, I actually moved to a different company called Astrom Online. This was a publisher of games, like we operated games from China, like Perfect World by Perfect World, one of the biggest World of Warcraft style Chinese games, and games like that, and we operated them all over Europe. It took like a few years to figure out how to launch the games, how to do live ops, how to do marketing. But this was a critical skill to figure out that actually I could not only just build the games myself and with the teams, but I could figure out the full scale of that, the full funnel. How do you build the game, how do you market the game, how do you operate the game, and what is live ops, how do you update the content, how do you create content, how do you monetize, how do you do all of that. So one day, when this company got sold to a bigger holding, I quit that company again. And I think quitting is actually good. So you can start a new chapter just to figure out what you could do next. And I had this big ambition to build the first ever city building game for social networks. So it might sound pretty lame, but to me this was the most important thing and decision of my life, to leave my fancy vice president position of a huge holding, come back to Riga, get 10 of my guys and put them in the same room and say, we're going to do it again. Let's make games again, and let's make a city building game. And it's I've never built city building games before. I knew nothing about city building games before. But I saw a huge opportunity. Back in the days, in 2009, on Facebook, was it 2008? I think 2008, there have been no city building games. Farmville just came out. Mafia Wars was hot, like text-based games. And I saw this opportunity, like, if we do it quick, we could ship the first ever city building game. And that's what we did. So I should say that Flash, that the thing that I learned Flash back in 2001, 2, or 3, back in the days, has helped me to figure out, well, I used to develop Flash on the web, I did C++ on consoles, I did browser-based games, both HTML, JavaScript, and Flash. And now, this new platform, Facebook, I'm gonna come back to that and do Flash games again. So that's the game. So this was the first ever city building game back in 2009. We launched that. The servers went down 1 hour later. Well, typical story. And they went down every day, because a month later we had 1 million players. I couldn't believe that, but it turned out that people actually wanted a city building game in social network. They wanted to build things with friends, they wanted to visit their cities, they wanted more of that, and in 3 months we had 10 million players. We're like, this was just tremendous. We launched on Facebook, we launched on regional social networks, and we just kept scaling that. And based on that, Innovate, which is a studio in Riga, which built that, became Game Inside. Game Inside is a bigger holding. We kind of started getting all of them studios across the region, be it in Minsk or Moscow, Murmansk, or whatever region nearby. Mostly in this region, yeah. And just getting more games. Like we built My Country. This is the game built in Riga. I don't see many faces here from our studio, unfortunately, but there are like a lot of people here that built that. And this was the first game on Android to reach #1 top spot. So basically, like one of my points is if you are really looking forward to a new platform, if you build the content before it goes live, if you are really ready for that, you could really explore this opportunity big time. So once again, the same way that we've built city building game for social networks, we built the first ever simulation tycoon game for Android. When they opened up the days, when they opened up the gates for distribution of free-to-play games with in-apps and monetization. So I think this was a screenshot 3 months later after Android market has launched with in-apps, and 2 of our games, both My Country and Paradise Island, became #1 and held this position for 12 months. So we've been raking, for 12 months, we've been raking a lot of, obviously, cash. So I haven't heard many stories about cash today, not going to talk about that much, but this is the importance of being the first. It doesn't matter if it's the new Xbox Live Arcade platform, if it's a social network, and you just found that it's missing a game genre, or it's a mobile platform and you've got the game ready and you could port that and just spend 3 months porting that to C++ to mobile, which is kind of a complex story. It used to be a Flash game, and then we hired the guys that did all of the Xbox things out there, and we told them, let's build a mobile game engine. We knew nothing about Android. We had no idea what kind of resolution capabilities it had, but we knew if we could build games for Xbox, we could build something for Android. And again, like in 3 months, we shipped that, and the rest is history. So that's kind of a long or short story of some of the things about catching the waves. The wave could be a platform, the wave could be a game genre, it could be the next big opportunity like Messenger. Then I talk about some stories that are more modern and relevant now. How many of you use Facebook Messenger? How many of you use iMessage or something like that? So with billions of users out there, that's one of the bets at Game Inside that I made about 18 months ago, and we've worked closely with Facebook to build the platform. Now it's version 6.0, it's live, that you could start building games for Messenger. And we thought that I'm going to evangelize building games for Facebook Messenger, something like that, but that's what I'm doing now. So with that platform, you could get millions and millions of players in days. You could build a 50 kilobyte JavaScript game, launch it in days, monetize through ads, no in-apps yet. And that's one of the next big opportunities that a lot of you might be missing. It's really easy if you know JavaScript, if you know Pixie.js or WebGL or whatever framework, you could do that. So we built a couple of games. Traps and Pets, I think it has 6 million players by now. It's our small match 3 game based on our Tribes franchise. That's the dino here, it's our mascot. We just launched a hidden object game, which is the first again. It's the first hidden object game on the platform, doing really well with 50+ audience. So that's the audience of hidden objects. And here's the other one, which is not that exciting. Like Actually, we are number 7 in AR. I just got this report a few days ago. So we built the first ever AR city building game. We shipped that. It has like, I don't know, close to 1 million downloads. Not really excited about the revenue and things like that. It's really hard to monetize AR unless you have Pokemon. But still, like, if you see the next big thing, if you know that something is going out, if it's AR Core for Android that is launching in the upcoming weeks on all of the phones, if it's something big and new, if you could produce a content that will not compete with the existing content, do that. And you could catch that trend, you could catch that wave, and you could catch that next big opportunity out there. So I think for me it's a lot, and for Game Inside it's a lot about being first. It's trying the new platforms, but the most important part is what we call FIFO. First in, first out. If you try something, if you see that the platform doesn't work, if it doesn't monetize, if it doesn't sustain, if it really doesn't work, try the next thing. Don't stick to that for the next 12, 18, or 24 months, or even years and years, trying to conquer that. Maybe it won't work. I know that persistence pays out, but for us, it's all about discovering the next big thing and then kind of producing more content if it works. And if it doesn't work, like in our case, AR, I don't think I'm going to make the next AR game. I'm not really satisfied with monetization, the retention numbers. I don't see people pulling out the phone every day to use my game. They do that with the regular games, but not the AR games. So maybe I'm not going to make more AR games, but I'm still super excited about Messenger. People play that. We get a lot of downloads. The ad monetization is there. It's doing good. So I'm still excited about Messenger. So just to kind of close the day, maybe say something inspiring. Chris, do you remember who did that? I think it was maybe Alexei or maybe Michael. Someone from Innovate did that, and I thought it's really relevant here. Like, keep riding those waves, keep looking for the next big opportunities. Don't be afraid to switch and try. And I think that's kind of the key takeaway here. Before I will do a shameless plug and talk about the game that we built, I never thought I'm gonna build a first-person shooter game. Like, you know, I built match 3 games, simulation tycoon games, hidden object games. So one of our studios decided to build a first-person shooter game, and we didn't say no. Like a mobile company does hidden object games for female 50+ audience, or simulation tycoon games. So now we're doing first-person shooter. So I think we spent 2 years producing this game for PC first. It used to be a PC shooter. We launched this on PC. The downloads, they were not, like, nobody cared about yet another shooter on PC. We started pushing hundreds of thousands of dollars into marketing budget, trying to persuade people to download yet another PC shooter. Didn't work. So then we did the regular thing. Yeah, let's do a mobile PC shooter. But by that time, it's what we call red ocean. Red ocean is a term when you get into an overheated market. There is Modern Combat 5. There are so many games from Gameloft, Glue, or whoever on mobile. So many first-person shooters. But something that we did right was that we had a tremendous brand, so really cool characters, really vibrant ones. And we decided to implement one thing that didn't exist in the US at that time. It was called auto-shoot and auto-aim. So this is a thing from kind of like Chinese games mostly, Korean games, where you would get auto-aim and auto-shoot. So we built a mobile-first PC shooter. Like, doesn't make any sense, right? But it's an actual PC shooter that was rebuilt for mobile with a couple of features. It's so accessible that when you start playing that, so I met Phil Harrison. You know, Phil Harrison, this is the guy that launched Xbox, this is the guy that launched PlayStation 2 and 3. So this guy took the game, the beta version of the game in the hands, did 5 frags in 30 seconds. And he was like, I never thought I'm gonna play first-person shooter on mobile, it's gonna be so accessible. So I think we did something right with this game. If you haven't played it, try it. It's every time a new Fortnite or PUBG launches, we grow because people they're like, oh, you need 3 hands to play PUBG and Fortnite. There are so many buttons on the screen. Even though I know how to play it on PC, it's so complex. So they go into the comment section and everyone says, go play Guns of Boom. It's much more accessible. It's 5-minute sessions. We just did so many things right, but I never thought that in my life I would build a first-person shooter. Even though when I worked back in the days at Computer Club, We used to play esports professionally. We would go to all the other clubs. We would compete with them, and they played a lot of CS, Quake 2 CF, Quake 3. So 18 years later, I'm like, okay, not only that I'm playing mobile first-person shooters, I built one of them, which is, I don't know, I still feel humble about it, but 35 million players in the first 12 months of the game, and it's growing as fast as PUBG and Fortnite now. Yeah, so this was a game on, hey, where are the villainous friends? Hey. So this was a game on when it was a PC first tournament, I think 2.5 years ago, right? I think 2 years ago, yeah. So we ran that. This was kind of the first early days of esports for Guns of Boom. We recently launched an esports mode for mobile and did a few things like that. So this is the next big ambition. No mobile game so far, aside from maybe Clash Royale, Vainglory, maybe a little bit of World of Tanks, trying to get here. So that's just to get like your ambitions up. I think you could do that. I think anyone could do that by having enough persistence, and then what's important is the skill and experience. Don't be ashamed to actually, I don't know, work for a corporation, something like that. Figure out how to do games, figure out how to operate them, figure out what's good and what's bad. So yeah, I think that's everything that I just wanted to say. Here's a quick recap. Yeah, I think there are like no limits. It could be a game genre. The next big wave could be a game genre that's missing on the platform of your choice. It could be the next big platform that you're just waiting for. It could be anything out there. And keep creating and keep failing. So that's kind of like my last message. And I call it, create something even if it sucks. So that's a video that you could find on YouTube. It's really inspiring. Just said that do something every day and keep pushing it forward, because there are just so many people that would be ashamed of getting the bad game out, just stop it halfway. Nowadays it's so easy with Unity, with anything, just build it out, send it to forums, see the reaction, iterate from that, and let's call it a day. I mean, let's go tonight already. Let's just go to a party, and maybe you found something inspiring, and most of that is actually happened here in Riga, Latvia. That's the coolest part, and I think that's one of the good ones for you guys. You could do it here. You could do it in Vilnius. That's where our HQ is. There are so many great guys from Estonia that keep doing that. We could do it in our small countries without any hesitation. So keep building. Hey.
Questions? Yeah, okay.
All right, 2 questions. The first one, are technical questions okay?
Absolutely.
All right, so actually the fear number one a few years ago was, if we launch an online game and the server crashes in 1 hour, what do we do? How did you resolve the problem with?
We fixed it.
Did you just hire more people or?
So you, first of all, you would call your friends who know that stuff, and you would just like, hey, can you fix it for us? And then you would start hiring like crazy, or just optimizing these servers, or figure out the problems and just doing that. Nowadays, with cloud, this is kind of self-fixable. Back in the days, we had to buy the servers physically, put them in racks and do things like that. So you couldn't solve this, like you couldn't anticipate for that. And we didn't have enough even cash to buy extra servers. So we had to wait 30 days before the cash would just come in from social networks. I think nowadays, that the right choices are anything cloud, anything multi-cloud, writing anything in really fancy ways so it auto scales. We do a lot of that nowadays. It's all like multi-cloud solutions and things like that. So it's so much easier nowadays. When we started, no Unity, no AWS, no Amazon, no anything out there. So much easier nowadays.
Thank you. Anyone else has a question?
I have.
Go ahead.
Should you keep silent about your next big thing you want to make?
Yeah, I want Guns of Boom to be the definite mobile esports game. I think that's kind of my ambition. I've built so many games in my life. I've played so many games. I think I've built over 100 games now, like really 100 games. So I think that one of these games has to reach 100 million players. So this is my ambition, to push Guns of Boom to 100 million players by the end of this year. And our whole team is focused just on that. Like, how do we outpace Fortnite and PUBG. So we wake up with that goal every day. So that's our next big thing, is actually making sure that our current thing is going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, but should you tell others about the next big things you're making, or should you?
You should. You must tell that, because this is something for you to aspire to, this is something for your team to aspire to, and for everyone else. And when you hit it big, the people will say, oh yeah, this guy told that he's doing that. Also, it validates a lot of your ideas. You might hear from some people, yeah, it's a totally crazy idea. For other people will say, actually, here's the reason why you should do X, Y, and Z. Nowadays, it's so easy to build and clone things. I don't think that idea is actually that valuable nowadays. It's so easy to build things. So it's really we nowadays we share the roadmap. We do soft launches, we do alpha launches. Anyone just could download our future games, like even in early stages. So I think it's really safe to share things.
Okay, anyone else?
Oh.
Thanks, great talk. I wanted to ask, you previously mentioned how you tried to put Guns of Boom on PC and it would work. So you ported it to Android or iOS stuff. I was wondering if you would ever want to try PC again.
Yeah, sure, I would. Maybe some other game, like we recently ported Xmerx, our turn-based strategy, to Windows, and it's actually doing good, so we're thinking about Steam now. And we're thinking about our tower defense game, which is doing well on mobile, to bring it to Steam as well. So even though we're mobile first now, we started with social. Then we migrated kind of to iPad. Most of our games have been for tablets. Even the first Android builds have been tablets. Then to mobile. Now we have all those platforms, less of social, but now I think PC is super relevant. But it has to be a good game. If you would see that, it has, like for Guns of Boom, it's really hard to be on PC. The texture, the resolution, the assets, like the whole pipeline of low to mid-poly asset production, we would just have to rebuild everything in HD, and it would take ages and ages. So don't expect the Guns of Boom to come to PC, but for other games, yeah, absolutely. If you build Fortnite first for PC, if it's super AAA and fancy graphics, good for that to mobile. But if you build something super low poly, and maybe it might make much sense, but definitely we are bullish on PC. We'll do more PC stuff. Yeah. Thanks.
My question is, what do you think about the VR as the next?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was a part of FIFO. First in, first out. We built a few things. We're not building any more VR. So unfortunately, the longer version of that is there is still not enough hardware. The pace of the hardware, it doesn't really accelerate. There are a lot of corporate sales, there is a lot of corporate interest, but the market is kind of small. For indie developer, for a smaller developer to sell 100K copies of a VR game could be great. For us, 100K copies is not enough, and it's not really a big market for us. So I think if you are a small team of 3, 4, 5 people, you could build really cool VR stuff. It could sell 100K, like GDC. I met the guy who built what is coolest VR game where you just try things and it's a lot of fun.
Fantastic Attractions, Colin Northway?
No, the other one, like Job Simulator, I think. Yeah. So you could build something stupid in VR like Job Simulator, and it's really cheap and it's gonna sell well. So I think for you guys, there is an opportunity, but you just have to be reasonable. It's not gonna sell 10 million copies because the whole market is like, I don't know, check out Steam Spy, maybe it's a few 100,000 copies. So that's the market size. So for us, maybe it's too early, but we've tried that, we've built, we've toyed with that, we've shipped the product. We saw that there is no real traction in terms of millions of players, because we're all about trying to reach as big as the audience as it gets. But for smaller developers, yeah, I think you could sell 100K copies easily. And even with really stupid and innovative content, which is, I think that's what works in VR. It has to be fun.
One more question here. Can you tell us what is your project kill rate? How many projects do you actually know that never see the sunlight?
Oh yeah, that's a lot. So the game inside we've shipped, I think 61 game was released, and I'm not really sure how much we haven't released. So we kill a lot of projects, And this is the saddest thing that you could ever do. This is the saddest part, to let go a part of the team, even though they might be in some other region. You could say like, okay, guys, this project is not really working out. We recently killed a farm game. Like, I don't know how they sign up to even build a farm game, but like, it was a pretty big team, over 20 people, and it's really sad. And it's some of the toughest decisions to make is to kill the projects, but if you make it a part of process, to celebrate it, to say, yeah, we just built this, it didn't work, what's the next thing that we're working on? So I think like in the last year, maybe we've killed like 5 projects. This year we'll be killing more. This is even more sad. But that's just a natural part of life. If you want your team to succeed and grow, you have to do higher quality content, you have to realign every few years for the new game genres, for the new trends, for the new platforms. And that's why it's so cool if you have one game that has 100 million players and you don't have to build more games. So maybe, like, you know, like, if you build one game that's gonna last for 10 years, that's definitely so much better than just trying and building and building and building and building until you find this one.
All right, one more question. Okay, then it's going to be my question. It's not going to be party right away, it's also the rewards.
Oh, the awards. Yeah, awards. Anyone excited for awards?
For the awards.
Yay! No more questions, awards.
All right, no more questions, let's just skip to awards.